On this episode of Sea Kayak Life, returning from a paddle in our epic 18X kayaks, we discover a disturbing issue with my kayak.
I'm going to check inside my hatch and make sure everything's good. Uh-oh. I got a ton of water in here. Look. I didn't get splashed or rolled or anything. What's that stuff? I don't know. There's some orange debris. That's plastic.
Yeah, that looks like your control lines. Oh yeah, that's the control lines.
The orange thing?
Yeah, it's the tubing. It's like deteriorating. It's all over the place. Oh, dude. Yeah, the back one's like deteriorating away. There's nothing in the back but the cord. There's just a hole to the back.
So the water's coming into the rudder?
Paddling like with a hole underwater. That's why you have so much. We're gonna have to replace the control lines, I guess.
Rolling to the house, we discuss options on how to fix this problem. Maintaining our boats, it's just part of our sea kayak life. Before we get started, subscribe and like so that we can grow our channel. Thanks. We bought our epic kayaks a few years ago. My boat is older than Mark's, which is probably why we're seeing issues with the lines disintegrating. These boats use a braided line called dyneema to control the rudder. The orange tubing protects the line as well as prevents water intrusion. On closer inspection, we can see that the braided rudder cord is actually rubbing against the fiberglass and epoxy where the tubing has broken. No doubt, if left alone, the cord will fail. The problem is this tubing is made of polyurethane and is not designed to be in contact with moisture, especially salt water.
Polyurethane is used in airlines, but this is not just an airline, obviously. It's in salt water and stays in water a lot. And it looks like the water, these are actually known for deteriorating in salt water. We don't know exactly the age of this boat, but it's several years old. And the lines are just cracked in every way from bow to stern. So we're looking for a replacement for this. In the past, we've used polyethylene. Polyethylene is pretty much impervious to chemicals and water as far as deteriorating. We've got some polyethylene lines that are 20 plus years old and they don't have any cracks or any signs of deterioration. So I'm thinking polyethylene is maybe what we should go with.
And we did a little research, and this looks like it's kind of a common problem with Epic boats. Is that kind of your understanding?
All of their surf skis and these newer sea kayaks, they use the same orange tubing. I don't know if it's the exact same company, but it looks like it from pictures we saw on the internet. And it's very common that it starts deteriorating, and then the control lines which are inside, they don't use stainless steel. They use this like sailing cord called dyneema, but it starts getting slack in it so that when people like step on their pedals, they hear it slapping. And the other thing is this can let water in, because if this should be watertight.
The first thing we need to do is pull all the cordage out. Then we begin to remove all the orange tubing. The tubing is easy to remove, except at bulkheads and tube guides. The orange tubing is 6 millimeters. We need to ensure that the replacement tubing is the exact size so that it will fit properly through the guides. You can see here that there's a run of orange line that goes to the center of the stern. This is the release line that drops the rudder down into the water. In order to remove the tubing, we will have to disassemble the rudder. We've never done this before, so hopefully it will be pretty straightforward. First, Mark removes the steering post.
So that's just a sleeve. And it looks like that is notched. So I'm assuming when this drops down, we're going to see a notch or something where this is supposed to grab a hold of it.
Then the rudder assembly will be free. You can see the orange tubing here, which will need to be removed. This is most likely where the water is entering the stern because it's below the water line. Next, Mark removes the outer spring cover. Followed by removing the spring cap, which holds the spring's tension.
Okay, I got it. It's just like full of crud. Alright, that was easy. So that's how many winding positions there are.
Okay.
And with these little detents. So when we put it in there, we'll have to decide like how tight we want the spring and then pop it in whichever hole we want to pop it in.
The rudder can now be removed.
And now I'm hoping this just please comes out. Yeah.
Note, there are 2 washers on either side of the rudder pivot point.
Pretty cool.
You can also see the release cord tied to the rudder. This must be removed. Finally, we pull the release cord out.
All right, so you did a little research online about some different tubing solutions. Tell me a little bit about what you found.
Well, what I've found is kind of not surprising. Since this polyurethane tubing is pneumatic tubing, it turns out the whole pneumatic tubing industry, there is 6mm tubing, but the polyethylene tubing is used for other things involving water, like the restaurant industry, and it's all standardized on 1/4 inch. So I wasn't able to find polyethylene in 6mm, but I found nylon, and nylon is a good material that should not become brittle over time and is good for being in water, and it's pretty much impervious to all kinds of chemicals. So and it feels about right. It's hard, but it's not too hard. It's pretty flexible, and I think we can get it through here.
An issue that we're dealing with is that the orange material is difficult to remove going through the guides and bulkheads. We need to figure out how to remove this material without damaging the boat.
All right, Mark, so one of the issues that we're having is to bore out the holes just a little bit so we can run the tubing. Tell me what you came up with.
Well, just thinking about, we can't really use a drill bit, and we need something a little bit flexible. I just started looking around, and this steel cable happens to be exactly 6mm. Very close. It's maybe slightly bigger, but my thinking was this steel cable is steel, so it's gonna wear down the fiberglass, and I can just put it in a drill and we can try slowly boring out. So that's the idea.
The nice thing is we got flexibility too, right? Because we can get some of those crazy angles.
That's long enough to go through the bulkhead, and I guess we're just gonna see what happens. So
all right,
let's give it a try. And I'm just like very gently pushing. Oh, there it went. So I'm betting there was some more of that old polyurethane tubing in there. Yeah, so let's try it.
All right, so if you look in here, that little black spot kind of in the middle of the screen is a guide where the tube is supposed to go through. And so Mark's going to use his fancy schmancy little drill bit that he's fashioned, and we're going to get that stuff out, and then we're going to put the new tubing through that.
Oh baby, that worked really good.
Mark proceeds to drill out more guides and bulkhead points. The honeycomb pattern that you see is actually the top of the boat. You can see the orange tubing is tight in the corner, and is glassed in. It's just too tight to drill out, so we make the decision to drill new holes in these tight areas to avoid damaging the boat. We will later seal the holes with Lexcel. To drill the last hole in the bulkhead, we have to remove the seat. Remove the cap at the front of the track and slide the seat forward. Then the seat will come right out. Once the seat is out of the way, Mark can drill the final guide hole for the new tubing.
We through?
Now that the orange guidelines are removed, it's time to install the new black tubing.
Alright, keep coming. Give me a lot, because I can almost reach it. Okay, there we go, stop. Okay, pull back some. Okay, now, let's go through the guide tube. Okay, feed it. That went through. Alright, on through the next one. Okay, we're through. That's good. Filming. Alright, stop. Alright, keep going.
That'll strengthen the bond.
So,
Oh, look. That's the bond.
oh yeah, the tube went right through, huh?
Yeah, that's good.
With the tubing put in place, we slather and seal the entry holes and the bulkhead holes with Lexcel.
Alright.
Next, we trim down the excess tubing. Now we need to run the cord through the tubing, and after a few attempts, we know this is going to be difficult.
We got about 10 feet we got to run through there.
Yeah, about 10 feet. It doesn't seem how I did starters. I don't know why. I was able to start it on the scrap line.
All right, so we had a few issues putting the line through the guide tube. What are we going to try to do here, Mark?
Well, I tried to cut it and burn it and melt it, and it's really almost impossible to cut with scissors, wire cutters. So I finally just had the idea of, to make it stiff to go through the hole, I just put some super glue on it, and I just put like a couple of drops and let it soak in, and then I just used a paper towel to just like very gently kind of wipe it forward to harden it a little. And then there were a couple of places that had kinks where the knots were tied, and I did the same thing. I just super glued it a little bit and let it dry slightly, and then I just wiped it down to harden. So I think with it being stiff, because you can see the rest of the line here that was inside the tube for so long, it's kind of crudted up and kind of stiff. And I think as long as it's just barely stiff, we can get it to go through there. You know, there's an expression that says, this is like pushing a rope.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. All right, let's give it a try.
First of all, you start in the tube here. Oh yeah, it went right in, much easier. And now we're literally pushing a rope in a 10-foot long tube. And yeah, it's going in easy. So far, so good. All right, we're maybe a couple more feet to go.
Hey, we got it. We got it. There it is. Ooh, that's, I like seeing that.
All right, that's it.
Using the glue to stiffen the cord, we run the rudder release line.
I'm just like putting a tiny bit of super glue on it. Again, I don't want to make it sticky or hard, but just enough to like give it a little substance. And what I've been doing is just spreading a little glue on, letting it soak in for a minute, and then wiping it down.
That just makes it a little stiffer.
Yep.
You can see here that there is still some orange tubing. We made the decision to leave a short piece because it's glassed into the hardware, and we're fairly certain we would damage the boat if we tried to remove it.
Oh, I see it. We got it. We got it. We got it. We got it.
Oh, thank you.
Mark made a sleeve of 5/16 polyethylene tubing to couple the two 6mm tubings together.
Now we need to feed it through the new black tubing all the way to the ends. Oh, don't push that.
Got it. We're out. Good job.
All right, so there's the coupler and the two different kinds of tubing connected.
With the steering and release cords in place, we need to reinstall the rudder.
There's like a little guide. Yeah, it's got to go through that guide. Okay, it's through the little guide. There.
Yeah.
So we can tie that second. This is ready to go up, right?
Now, Mark inserts the shaft into slots in the rudder.
One way or another, this has to like go in this little, like that. Maybe I should just do that and then stick it up there. That's what we're gonna do. Hold on. There. Okay. That's it. Are you still good?
Yeah.
Everything's in. Okay, so this pulls up like that, alright? Yeah. So this needs to come in. It looks like they have a slot here for the rope. And we know this knot was tied point blank. So I'm just going to tie a point blank knot.
With the knot tied, Mark installs the rudder blade. He has placed the two plastic washers on either side of the blade using marine grease. The blade must be aligned properly in order for the spring cap to fit.
And then I need to wind the spring, but I got to think about which direction to wind it, right? So I think I need to wind it that way so it'll want to pull back up that way. I'm going to go. Okay, that's there. I'm trying to go to like 3 o'clock. See how that feels. Does that feel okay? It's in. See from your pulling it if it seems normal to you.
Now we put the spring cover on.
Start it gently.
Finally, Mark ties the rudder lines to the steering post.
And then it's just like sticking this through the hole like you're tying your shoes.
The only thing left to do is to take the boats out for a paddle.
Hey, we've been paddling about 5 miles. Why don't we stop and check to see if there's any water in my hatch?
Okay, good call.
This is a good spot.
Yeah, let's just go here. All right. Here goes nothing. Ooh. Shut, dry as a bone.
All right.
5 miles, no water. Think we got it.
Well, I am so glad we don't have to worry about water coming into my boat. But I'll tell you what, that project was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be.
A lot harder. I mean, we had to learn about materials science of tubing and the tubing industry. And I was really worried if we damaged these boats. I mean, it's one of the most advanced layups in the industry, and I didn't think we'd be able to repair it. And I was kind of worried we wouldn't even be able to get into parts of the boat.
Well, it's a good thing we had that hoist system, because we could just flip the boat upside down and you could just stand up and work on it.
Rather than flipping me upside down, you're right.
Oh, and don't forget, you fashioned a tool to make it all work.
Yes, and it went really well. I was a little surprised, I have to admit.
Yeah. Well, I hate to tell you this, but you know you've got the same orange tubing in that boat.
Don't remind me. I dread doing that. I mean, I don't even think I'm going to remember how to do it.
Well, I know a real good video we can watch to remind us.
We're going to watch our own content?
That's right.
I guess that would work.
Well, so whether you're on the water paddling or you're in the garage working on your boat, it's all part of RC kayak life. Thanks for watching. Give us a like and subscribe to help us grow our channel. And here's a couple other videos I think you'll like.